Well, a very pleasant good afternoon to all, and it is our sincere pleasure to welcome you back to the LPGA Tour of Korea. This is event number 12 of 34 in this 2022 season, live from Fortune Hills Golf Club in Pocheon-si, BC Card Hankyung Ladies Cup, where it is currently overcast, 23 degrees, a 75% chance of rain. We've already seen about 6 to 10 millimeters of rain today and steady wind at 5.8 meters per second. Our first look at the leaderboard, and you will see the rookie Uni now with a fantastic opening round, equaling Bung Min-ji's round of 64 for the top two spots on the leaderboard. And keep an eye down there, Oh-ji Hyun, a winner of this event, not just once, but twice, 2016 and 2017. She successfully defended her title. She is in a tie for 8th position, and an impressive performance thus far as well from one of the amateurs out on course this week. The low amateur thus far through her initial 72 rounds of play. Hankyung at 4 under par, where she's currently in a two-way tie for 6th position. My name is Adam Jenkins. It's great to have you back with us once again. We'll head right out to course to the 10th, where we will start our coverage with a short birdie putt. It's a nice finish for Chen Ye-sung. That is her 5th birdie of the day. She's at 5 under par, a bogey-free round thus far. All 3 shots all in the fairway, including Yuhei Ran. Second in the par 4 ninth. She's 140 meters out. We'll be looking to try and find a birdie and get back to even at the turn. Just makes contact with the right side of the putting surface. You can see the immense tailwind that helped add a little bit of difficulty to that shot. She will find herself in the rough to the back right of the green. What is the 11th hole of the course? The second of the Palace course, one of many par 3s, 171 meters, with the sand trap to the right side of the green. The pin placement today at 11, 14 yards off the front, 16 yards from the right side. Not quite as chaotic for opening round pin placement today. You can see relatively flat if you can keep it left. .71 meters, but pretty significantly downhill. Narrowly avoids the sand and will not quite have enough to roll onto the green. She'll be sat up on the fringe. Back to 9 and 7 iron for Kim Soo-ji, 133 meters. Ball sat just above her feet. Well, handles the wind quite well, but didn't have enough backspin to keep it in place. She will be putting, and it'll be back down towards the target. The par 5 10th, and the approach shot will be best of the group from Kim Min-ju. Have no qualms with that. 3 under is what she has circled. She had a pretty steady front 9 and is looking to carry that momentum back into this 10th hole. Quite some memories from this tournament last season. Switching back to the 3-round format this year. From 2015 to 2021, it had been 4 rounds every single year. It was ENG in a round of 66 to take home the title last season. The lowest round of her entire tournament, the lowest final round in tournament history. She was 3 under today, is 69 to finish tied for 8th. So plenty of past champions in and around that top 10 here at Fortune Hills. First break of the day will be right back after a short break. Well, I did tell you it would be a short one. That's the chip from just off to the right from Yuhei Rand, inside of 3 meters, so she'll try and save her par. She's been meeting some pretty heavy resistance from Peng Ninji and even Amy Jung, of course, after the win last week. Falling down slightly in the points and money leaderboards as Yuhei Rand. Hit and stick for Coach Yu. Tied for 41st last week at the major. Kim Soo-ji started its move to the right before meeting her group mate's ball marker. Pretty good first swing into the wind and back downhill. This is group number 31. They had teed off just after 12:35 local time. And a long putt back towards the middle of this green. Having started up on the slope. Serene, that's got some promise to it. Why not? A lovely birdie. One that she needed after a quad at the last. That will bring her to 3 over. It had been even through 9, and then that blow up at the first hole on this Palace course. Soo-ji, not much work to do after that initial putt. She will be in with a par back to back after her bogey at number 7, and she is 1 under at the turn. Chinese song just a little bit offline to the right. Roll about 1 meter past. You will return to 9 and witness this 148 meter iron approach from the fairway. Well, it caroms to the left as soon as it lands on the green, but sat up in two-putt territory, barring some magic for So-Yeon Jung.
이제 점점 한 해가 될수록 플랭크가 점점 많아지는데 어떻게 보면 약간 살짝 부담이 되기는 한 것 같아요. 일단 근데 읽는 재미가 많은 것 같아요. 제 고향인 포천에서 하는 대회라서 일단 마음은 되게 편한 것 같고요. 작년에도 마지막 날 좀 무너져서 좀 아쉬움이 있지만 그 아쉬움을 이번주에 좀 털어내겠습니다. 아직은 우승이 없지만 그래도 늘 한결같이 응원해주셔서 너무 감사하고 이번 때에는 또 응원해주신 만큼 좋은 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
Birdie look for Coach Yu at number 12. Some proper right to left movement on this, and far more than had been accounted for. Distance was spot on. A tap in par to keep her at 3 under through 12. Just outside of the top 5 in the rookie list is Coach Yu. And both she and Uni now with very promising starts to this tournament. Tap in all that remains and off to the next tee. Now Kim Min-ju to get to within 4 of the lead. A bit of the outside, but blows right past. Disappointing one as the birdie was on. Well, as mentioned, Yunina 8 under par. The 5th best rookie thus far this season, but yet the best of the day in progress alongside Peng Min-ji. And a shout for some previous winners of this event. Kwon Ji-hyun up on that leaderboard. And speaking of rookies, to 11 with Kwon So-yeon, 8 iron. Moving up to 3rd spot on 954 rookie points, trailing just Matas Som in EA1. Kim Min-ju 19th this season thus far, 146.2 million won her season total thus far. Another proper approach right down. Putting back towards the right side of the green. It was just about to start that move to the right. Ran out of speed at the very end. She had it lined up to a tee. They start the back nine with a pretty substantial par 5. We've already seen that it can take some names with no regrets. 517 meters, and I won't put the jinx on for another quad, but that is not the ideal start. First hole, 468 meter par 5. This 10th, 517 meters. A bit of a grind out of the gates as well. You do the 468 first, go to a par 4, and then you're right back to the par 5, the longest one on course. Yuheran makes easy work. She'll even carry that driver down. Why not? 5 of them par 5s, in fact, here at Fortune Hills, and 5 par 3s as well. A nice variety, keeps it a little bit different out of the mold instead of your usual 2 on the front, 2 on the back. So Hankyung, her bogey at 4. After coming up short on the look for birdie, this to finish with a 37 at the midway mark. Makes no mistake from in close. Look, some free relief out of a divot for Hankyung. Drop a spot in the latest LFASI's points rankings. That's gonna hook right off the release. Started left and stayed left, and with the hybrid about a yard or 2 off the fairway into the rough. And Kim Min-ju downhill right to left, though not as much break as she had accounted for. Also hit with a ton of pace. Yuheran tied for 18th last week at the major, 6 under. Just goes to show how absolutely dialed in Yimi John was. Finished 6 strokes clear of Kwon So-yeon, 7 of Peng Min-ji as the podium. 68, 66, 66, 69 on the way to a massive payday and a jewel in the crown in her career, no doubt about it. Decent contact out of the sand. Tough one with the overhanging lip, a bit of grass too to catch it and take some of the pace off, but she's back safely into the fairway. It's going to catch the fringe and slow it right up, but enough to get onto the green. Kwon So-yeon catching the outside edge of the cup and shooting right back out. Unbelievable performance last week to contend with some of the absolute best on tour. We're playing some really good golf lately. Even undaunted by the pressure. 68 in the final round, playing with Imi Jung, and wouldn't quite be wire to wire for the winner, but it was some fantastic play. Kim Min-ju tip the cap and on to the next. Short putt, not a whole lot of work left to be done on that hole. Struggling to crack into this top 10 at the moment, but not far behind. Quick break and right back out to Fortune Hills right after this. The opening round of the BC Card Hankyung Ladies Cup for 2022. will narrowly on to the front of the green. Chen Ye-sung, this can move her to a tie for third. A faultless round thus far. She's been picking up birdies left and right. Does she have one here? Not quite. Well, the way she's playing and the amount of holes she has remaining. 7 of them to find 3 strokes to move into a tie at the lead, but it will just be par at the 12th. So Sung Eugene playing 8 iron off the tee at 11. And the winds calm down for a bit, so we'll see a lot more 8s than we had seen 9s. Last few groups to come through. It'll be a great little kick back towards the middle and about 4 meters downhill for birdie. Suji, her third at the 10th, still over 200 meters to make up. Goes for the fairway wood, and she'll be able to get it all the way. Be short-lived as that's headed right for the back, but she is on. Young having hooked into the rough. This is the attempt at a recovery shot, and that too has a ton of pace over the back slope and down into the rough beyond too much club. Lovely approach, darts that down, and within a meter and a half. And Young, that was sensational. Especially with the bit of rain we had earlier in the day, the green's definitely playing soft. Chung Yoon Ji. All right to left action on the way towards the cup and in. How many of those did we see on the way to her maiden victory on tour? It's back-to-back birdies now. Good start to the back 9 and within 1 of even par. Some high loft on that, and the divot shows you just how close she came to the stick. We'll roll a bit beyond and left, but very much in play for a bird. Misaligned by about a meter to the left and a bit too much power on it to boot. Birdie to be had on this one. Some notes for tomorrow. Now this would have been the shot for par. Park Ji-young. Oh, she might save her par after all. My word. Bump and run into the bottom of the cup. Her third birdie of the day. When she went long, it looked like she was going to be lucky to escape with the par. She floats it up, gets on line, and drops in. Shot of the day, no doubt about it. I don't think she had foreseen birdie after the first two shots. Great recovery. Meanwhile, at 12, Sunggan at 1 under, but not likely for much longer after an approach shot like that. Okay, we're starting to pick up some highlight reel strokes just after 30 minutes into our broadcast today. Jungmin to save par at 11. Yes. Perfect line, perfectly executed. A bit of trouble off the tee for Kim Min-ju. An approach out of the rough. Can't quite get it to plant. Only about 5.5 meters out for her birdie. Chun Ye-sung, welcome to the front page of the leaderboard. She is knocking on the door of the top 3 and is tied with previous champion here as well, Cho Chung-min, with a round of 67 in her first round. This is, of course, the 8th playing of this BC card in the Young Ladies Cup. It was a 67, ironically, the same year that she won the title back in 2019. Evidently, these shots from off the green aren't too much trouble here as Kim Ji-hyun, excuse me, the all yellow get up. Young too, 2020 winner with a round of tournament score, of 18 under par. Some impressive birdies along the way. And more magic from off the green. Improbable long-distance birdies have not been an issue the past few minutes. Here's one more look at another. Won't be able to find pay dirt, but short par will be next for her. Meanwhile, after a brilliant approach shot, this to take Hankyung to 2 under par. Didn't give herself enough room on the line. Rolls back too far to the left. Still looking for her first birdie since the 8th when she'd gone back-to-back. A bogey at the last, but recovers with par after dropping a stroke. And now Yuhei ran 2.5 meters for birdie, and she gets it there. Full revolution. Well, a roller coaster round in progress. That one will feel good. Up and down, bogeys and birdies for you, Hey Ren. Eugene, her tee shot. And navigate that bend, and has a lot of available real estate in that wide width of fairway. She might have missed it all. Currently in a tie for 28th at 1 under. Junmin is even through 12 holes of competition. Tie for 45th, this even par score at this rate will likely be our cut line tomorrow. Lovely tee shot into the middle of the fairway. Eight iron for Bak Ji-young after shot of the day, probably her shot of the tournament. Let's see if she can turn that into some forward momentum. I'd say she can. A near ace inside of a meter. The belief is back in her game and putting together some brilliant shots, one after the other. The 18th putt of the day for Kim Min-ju. This one a hair inside of 4 meters. This would get her to 4 under, and she's got it. A tie for 6th position now. She too has several holes to try and reel in our leaders. Yuhei Ren also going with 8 at number 11. Slightly offline to the right, but the distance was spot on. Songyeon glances it off the left edge and falls for her 3rd birdie of the day and wipes out that bogey at 11. Lovely, lovely approach to set that one up. And putting back towards the middle of the green. You can see how the flag today, defended by the slopes all around the target line. You have to be right on the money. Not much margin for error here. Eugene, 145 meters out at the 12th. Catches a gust on its way down towards the green and will roll downhill to the valley towards the back half of that green. And a similar miss to the right from Jun Yoon Ji. We'll check in with her in a moment. Yue ran to get back to even. Does she have back-to-back? No, says the ball. Stays out, so it won't be consecutive birdies. A tap-in par after a decent tee shot. Still down in a tie for 67th at 1 over. And Hankyung Min, her second at 12. Slightly beyond pin high, excuse me. But handles the wind a little better than her group mate just had. And Kim Soo-ji, a short par, little right to left to stay at 1 under. And she's got that. Well, the degree of difficulty on that birdie, about 95% easier than her last, but it is back-to-back. Brilliant start to her back 9 and is within 4 of the leaders. Downhill putt with the wind at her back for birdie after missing a short one at 13. Another chance for Hankyung. Not to be once again. Out of the final 4 holes. She is under par, but not quite in the race at the moment. Chen Sung certainly is in the race. 130 meters out on this approach, par 5 13th. On the approach uphill onto the green, doesn't have enough carry to get onto the back step. Probably could have used full extra club there to get her up and safe. Taking the loft as well and probably zipped back in close. Now Coach Yu for birdie to also move to 4 under par. Well, started left and comes back just in time. So 4 under is becoming an increasingly popular score, the 5th birdie of the day. What a start to her tournament. 3 consecutive birdies. Now has 5 on this opening round Friday. Reaching for hybrid at 12. Trying to will the ball back left as that spot off this 12th tee, that rough inside the lines is slightly, is increasingly becoming a popular landing destination to the chagrin of those teeing off here at 12. The 18th longest hitter on tour, on average 227 meters off the tee. Another blast into the fairway from Yue Ren. is also driver off the tee. And that is going to actually work out pretty well. That'd be one of her longest drives of the season by the end of it, with the cart path giving her an extra 35 or 40 meters or so. Now Chen Yue-sung, the uphill birdie putt. She needed to give it a good crack to get it up and close, and she's only centimeters short. Tap in par through 13, and still 3 off the lead. Well, the top 6 as it stands, Yoonhee Na, Peng Min-ji tied for the lead at 8 under par. Jae Hae-young at very respectable opening round of 66, 2 off the lead. Cho Jung-min, Chun Ye-sung tied for 4th at 5 under, and then we're adding some numbers in this tie for 6th. 5 at the moment at 4 under. A tricky one for Jung Yoon-ji. Starts downhill, comes right back up, and her weight was almost exactly where it needed to be. That's about a 5% likelihood of making it, and it's a good effort. Nearly a month removed from her win at the 10th E1 Charity Open. A 5-hole playoff that none of us will soon forget. It's 11.7 meters for Sun Eugene. This is pretty much uphill all the way. Oh, that looks really good. In terms of which line you want to try and attack, that's about as good as you could have asked for. We're also nearing the anniversary of Chun Ye-sung's triumph at the Ever College in Queen's Crown, July 18th. 1-hole playoff versus Hoda being in that tournament. Part 18 in the playoff to secure the title. Jung-min 6.5. Straight into the wind, slightly uphill and a little left to right as well. Oh, just about had it. That was right on line to the very end. She certainly thought she had done enough. So a tap in and she will settle for her 7th consecutive par. Hasn't seen birdie since the 5th. Par saved as well, 1 under, heading to 13 for Sun Eugene. Kim Min-ju's approach at 13. Carries it to the back half perfectly. Gives herself a pretty respectable look at birdie after that approach. And from just outside of 100 meters, does almost an identical approach to her group mate and will also be quite happily staring down a bird once they arrive at the green. Serene is 3 over, looking to reverse the fortunes a little bit here at 14. Well, she will all but certainly be making a step closer to even par after that fantastic tee shot. Brilliantly online and has very little remaining to do at 14. Yuninan Bang Min-ji might have some company as we're starting to see some challengers. Ko Chi-yu as well as Chun Ye-sung in the final 5 or 6 holes of their first round of this 2022 playing of the BC Card Hankyung Ladies Cup at Fortune Hills. back out to the course. We will join Buck Ji-young from the rough at 12. 147 meters in distance, but playing a little bit more. A with a lie and B with the uphill nature. Speaking of uphill, that rolls all the way to the top of the green. And Yuhei ran also the uphill approach, but from a much kinder lie. She goes right at that pin. Lands about 2 meters to its left and stays within 4.5 of a birdie. And the sun's starting to poke out a little bit at 13 as it shines down on Kim Min-ju looking for birdie. Starts right and has just enough of that outside edge to fall, so she moves to 5 under. That is now back-to-back birdies. Needs 3 more in the final 5 holes, and she will end the day also in a share of the lead. Kim Min-ji can get back to even with the converted birdie here at 14 from the right side of the green and moving right. She's got it. Their first birdie of the day had all been pars aside from number 5, and she is even in the final few holes of her opening round. Well, after rolling all the way down the cart path, there's only 75 meters remaining. About a 290-meter drive by the end of it. And the wedge shot up just enough to get through the fringe. Slightly off to the right, though she will be putting for birdie. Just completely under hit. So no birdie to come for Chun Ye-sung at the last end. So Yeon, who is meandering at 2 over at the moment, will not be able to pick up a stroke. Body language tells the story, a bit dejected with the round in progress. That's Irene, simple tap in finish. The wheels fell off at number 10. She has 2 of those 4 strokes made back up, with a handful of holes to play on this Friday. About 1.5 meters for Chun Ye-sung to save par with the wind howling. Able to find it. Well, the battle atop the LFAS's point standings is getting pretty interesting, with Bang Min-ji's resurgence on tour. Just 5 points between she and Yuhei Ran for those top 2 spots. EA1 moved up to 3rd position as Jan Sol dropped a pair. Yi Ga Young rounds out the top 5. the season-long competition to qualify for the LF Hazies Point Championship. The bounce and roll, but not enough to get above the rise, and will cascade back towards the front of the green. Hankyung, 18.6 meters for birdie at 12. All the way back downhill, needs to keep this right. Doesn't quite give herself the room up towards the near edge of the green. We'll have about 2.5, 3 when she looks to save par. Ju teeing off at the 14th. Stays in the front half. It's the right general direction of the green, but rather short. Now Kim Soo-ji at 12. 207 degrees rotation. Pops right back out, so a second putt is required. It is another par. She stays at 1 under. He's 6 iron for Kwon So-yeon as she tries to once again get a step closer to even. That'll work out quite well, nearly pin high. Almost hugging the fringe, but there's a relatively flat and relatively short look at birdie. Same cannot be said for Yu Hae-ran here. Oh, beautiful. She just under hits it. From our vantage, it looked like it was going to fall, but it is a little nudge to get the par, but that line was as well read as you could possibly get. But toiling over par for one of our best on tour thus far in 2022. And we can make it a pair of pars at 12. Off to 13 and still within 4 for Park Ji-young. Sunghaeun's turn to tee off at 14. Well, you can almost draw a perfectly straight line from the front edge of the green to nearly the back using just about every available meter of landing room. Certainly feels like two-putt par territory. It's 115 meters out, having sailed past the fairway, out of the rough, and never wanting to hit the brakes. Needed to be front right, and she is back right and up onto the fringe. We're 13, 15 meters and up the slope. Song Eugene sets up her par with a heavy hit the first time. And also sailing through the fairway and into the second cut. It's 112 meters for Hyun-Se-rin. We'll kick back out to the right, just north of pin high, and we'll have a mostly straight shot back to the opposite side of the green for her birdie. Be a touch left to right here. The longest of the three birdie putts. And it was right to left, and misses the inside edge altogether. Oh, stand corrected, that would have been the attempt to save par, so it's the first bogey since 4. And a drop stroke with only a few holes remaining in her round. So we go back to 14, Kim Min-ju. All the movement was left almost immediately and comes up 20 centimeters shy. Taking a look at 13 now. 512 meter, par 5 with the water separating the two holes and the sand traps scattered throughout the fairways. Only 13 birdies here today thus far. Average score of 5.083. 19 bogeys or double bogeys, 77 pars. It's a mostly flat trip from tee block to the green, and by flat I should be saying straight. Certainly not flat. You have the grass bunker just off the front as well. And as we've seen on display a few times, you do not want to be short. Got to get it up to the back of the green with the second shot, the pin placement today. 8 yards from the left, 14 yards from the back edge. Well, step 1 is a positive one and in the right direction. Sunghaeun runs out of speed in a hurry. Be a tap in par for her as well. Hankyung asking it to sit as we watch it barrel through the fairway and down on the other side of that slope towards the water. Will be an interesting one to see where that did indeed come to rest. And tiptoeing its way towards targets as well up from the right side, and Gwen Soyan will have to wait another to try and find her birdie. 4 holes remaining in her opening round. Well, that will comfortably find the fairway for Yuhei Ren as they make the half-kilometer long trek down towards the green. That's a great read. Very nice putt. And a birdie picked up once again, 14 and 15 now back-to-back and under par. Kimi G, who's had a very nice back nine. Really taking her time to line this one up. It's a tricky, started uphill with a healthy amount of break as well, and this is the par save for Chun Yi-sung. Should want to move right, if anything. Well, starts to, comes up shy, so a drop to be had. Difficult one. It's par 4 15th and the first bogey of the day to drop her back down to 4 under. She's still very much in the race, but now 4 back of Yunina and Peng Min-ji. The 2 scores to beat in this opening round of the BC Card Hankyung Ladies Cup 2022. And now we find Park Ji-young. So with the 3 on our score bug top left of your screen, that will tell us that she did indeed find the water. So her 3rd gets her back on track and into the fairway, but disappointed to have found the hazard right away. And 283 for Kim Soo-ji. Using every available meter to the right side of the fairway, into the shade of the trees as well. Yuhei Ren's approach will be next, but before she goes, we'll head back to 14. Chung Yoon Ji, 7 iron, There's a lot more club than we've seen here. Makes it work brilliantly. He's been chasing that even par score for some time now, and it's quite an optimistic look at it. Now we can see the second for Yuhei Ren. Fairway to fairway and disappearing under the undulations. Six iron for Hankyung Min. Two-thirds of a swing, and she is on, but short right. Last to approach at 14 of this group, 7 for Sung Jin. I'd say she's in a similar location to the extent that she bounces off the ball and a few laughs exchanged. Hankyung Min, bumper balls on the green at 14. It's 11 meters uphill from this spot in the fairway, 128. Park Ji-young needs to get this close to give herself a chance at par. Well, through 4, she is at the back of the green, but that will be a putt that would rival her hole out from off the green if she's able to save it. Suji, it's inside of 100 meters on this approach. And we'll get her back spin, and definitely has a shot at bird. Nice approach. And time to rebound. Cho Nye-sung after the bogey. On yet another par 3, this the 16th, and going for hybrid. She comes up short into the grass bunker, defending the front edge. The storming of the leaderboard starting to cool off a little bit. Yuhei Ren showing off her power twice, only has 78 meters remaining. My word, brilliant. Absolutely sensational. Casually hits 230, follows that up with 190 on her second, and then within 2 meters after the approach. That is as expertly played as you can get here. Kim Min-ju from 97 meters and the rough at 15. Won't have many of any issues with that one. Nice up. Well, this to avoid dropping a stroke for Park Ji-young. 13.2. Returning to the left side of the green. Well, it's online, just a little bit short. Well, after a splash off the tee, it will be bogey in the end. Now 14 with Hankyung Min and birdie. Similar distance on this putt, 11.5 meters. And she started that online. Goes about 11.3 and slightly left, and she even has to concede the smirk as she knew how close she came. So another tap-in par, and remains at even in the home stretch of her opening round. Well, from that lie, I'd say one of her best of the day. Starts left, rolls right back on line, and comes mere centimeters away from holing out from the bunker. And a tap-in par to prevent back-to-back bogeys, so she is definitely going to be able to put that bogey in the rear view with very confident take. Kim Soo-ji, she was a runner-up last year, one of 7 who finished one shot back of ENG, including Chanana, Sung Yoo-jin, Kim Se-rumi, Hankyung, Chung Yoon-ji, and Lee Jung-min. It's her first bird since number 3, and much to the delight of the supporters. 70 holds, that's identical to how she opened her tournament last year. Her first 2 rounds, in fact, rounds of 70. And speaking of runner-ups from 2021, when Eugene comes close. Her big moves were at the weekend. 67 and 66 the final 2 rounds, would come just 1 shot back. Well, she's played this with reminiscent shots of her best golf this season. Finally back to even. The first time since she departed the 6th hole. Chung Yoon-ji looking to follow suit. But that dove away at the end to the right, so he tap in par. We'll head to 15, still chasing even. But Jung secures her bogey. Her first of the day. And now sees 5 strokes between she and our 2 leaders. Kwon So-yeon has been on this hunt for a while for birdie. She's finally going to get it. An exhale and a bit of weight off of her shoulders. Back to where she was after the first hole of her round at 1 over. Was swept away once again to the right side. So she'll have to mark off and mentally prepare for the par. Well, this is one of my absolute favorites here at Fortune Hills. Over the water, over the rocks with driver. Easy as you like for an ENG into the safety of the fairway. On this view, paints a gorgeous picture. You aim to the bunker off to the left and we'll come back nicely into the fairway. Very wide landing zone. Unfortunately, not quite wide enough as that rolls into the rough. And working their way around the lake. Call it a pond, but that doesn't do it justice. There's Yue Ran teeing off at 14 after her birdie. Well, not her best, but with the putter, never say never. She's 8 back of our leaders, starting to cement themselves in place. Kim Min-ju 3 back through 15. Chun Ye-sung 4 back through 16. So Jean at 4 under on the 5th hole, having started at the 10th tee. Coach Yu, the final name on page 2 of the leaderboard. We'll step aside and be right back to Fortune Hills after a short break as our opening round coverage of the BC Card Hankyung Ladies Cup 2022 continues in moments. Well, Yuhei Ran, it'll be a par at 14. Climbs back to even and is unable to go back-to-back at the 14th. After ENG, the approach at 15. That's better. Spins back to the left and we'll have a relatively straight look down towards the pin. This is Kim Min-ju going with 5-iron on 16. The final of 3 par 3s on this back 9, and she's sent that wide right. The approach 97 meters, attacking front right of this 44-yard long green. Takes it left, bit above pin high. She's definitely played that a bit safe. And on the penultimate, 139, fairway to green. Well, almost the pinpoint middle, and we'll be needing to drop down and left as she looks for a birdie. Nearing the end of what has been a very good first round of play. "13 meters closer. Kimi G. This is 7-iron. A similar distance remaining. Does get front left. And launches another. Bombs it into the middle of the fairway. Suji, that's drawing slightly to the left. Avoids the bunker, but definitely finds the rough. So a lot more movement in her swing. Trying to generate as much torque as possible. The hands just didn't quite stay with it. Some right to left action off the tee once again. Wasn't in any danger of finding water after clearing the first pond, but she will be playing her second out of the rough. So only Yuhei Ran able to find the fairway in regulation. And down to the green that they will be attacking next. Starts to move back online, but runs out of speed. Two-putt par for Sung Eugene after she waits for her group mates to make their birdie putts. Pitched out of the rough and gets it to about 4 meters shy. Now 11.9 for Jin Ye Sung, the first of these lengthy birdie bids. That's a fine putt. With a bit more power on it, it would have stayed to the outside of the cup. But a two-putt par. Bogey will have been disappointing. She's cooled off a touch on the way in, but still, even with a par at the last, a 4-under will be a very good start to her tournament. Well, she stands up and out of it as she watched that tail away. Three holes to find her birdie to get back to even. And Kim Min-ju can't save her par, rocked back on her heels, hoping to keep that on line, but it's slightly pushed and will be the first bogey of her round. These final three holes are causing some problems for the chasing pack of the top four. Only Peng Min-ji and Jo Jung-min had birdies at 17 in this final stretch. Of course, the back nine in general was one for the history books for Uni Na. Fast forward a few hours later, and the birdie well's drying up a touch. The par 5 18th. Hankyung, that is lovely. Her putter has let her down a couple of times from this distance. So believe she has a shot, as she should. The last little injection of confidence heading into round two. Kimi-ji, rolls in her par at 17. Now Coach Yu from 50 meters out, her third. Backspin slows her up on the line. It's a pretty good second shot to be only 50 meters away on this par 5. It's been a difficult last couple of holes, back-to-back bogeys. Her second and third on the day has her 6 back of the lead now, and the sun definitely more than peeking out now, shining down on Fortune Hills with about 45 minutes of action still to be had here on this Friday. (4:45 p.m. in Pochun. This on 15 for Yuhei Ran. able to make the most of another brilliant tee shot. It's a great approach. Pulled back on a string closer to the cup, and she will be looking at another birdie. Be her 5th of the day. Problematically, though, she went back-to-back bogeys at 3 and 4. And then 2 bogeys in the final 3 holes of her front 9. 85 meters out of the rough, up onto the green for Hankyung. And a nice leap from the fringe onto a birdie line. Suji would be happy to dial up one of those. Going with sand wedge from 80. Well, if it was a bit more aligned, she would have had probably enough to get through the fringe. That fades a touch and goes rough to rough. Now Coach Yu for a round of 69. Right to left and perfectly on line. So she breaks the bogey chain with a very solid end to her round. 6 birdies, 3 bogeys on the day, and we'll head to the clubhouse at the moment in a tie for 11th. Sung Eugene trying to get to under par. Didn't have the pace on it. Started her day with a birdie at 1. Have another at 6, and those would be the only 2 under par scores in her first round. And Hankyung looking for her first birdie since the 8th hole when she went back to back. She's got it. So a 70 in round 1. Tie for 20th after 18 holes of action for one of 7 runner-ups last season. Kim Soo-ji just wants to lift this up and set herself up for par at worst. And say she succeeded in that quest. Well, it takes an improbable putt to finally find the birdie for Chung Eun-ji. It's struck excellently. Bogey at 1, a double at 7, and now she has finally made up those 3 strokes with her 3rd birdie at the back 9. And into a share of 43rd. And Hankyung back in the birdie column. Her 5th of the day. Within 4 in a tie for 6th position with Kim Min-ju also still out on course. Chun Ye-sung as well at this 4 under mark. Reaching for the fairway wood with her 2nd at the last. 264 meters still to go. We've seen that rough to the left come into play, but this looks like it's going to fade into the center. Lovely. It's been a long time coming for you, Iran. And she attacks that cup and gets it to go. Well, a front nine to forget with 4 bogeys. A back nine much more suited to the shot making we've seen from her this season. She's 1 under now. That's a good par. .124 meters from the fairway at 17 for Kim Min-ju. The iron back across the width of the hole, but it will spin back out into the fringe. Kwon So-yeon took a step in the right direction with a birdie. And the rookie with another great approach, starting to stitch some good holes together on the way in. Well, last time we showed you the full leaderboard, we had seen, and so Jean was getting closer and closer. She's now within 3 with 2 holes to play. And speaking of 5 under par, with 3 holes to play, we're starting to see a bit of a push back on the garden course. So it is still at the same marks as it was when we began our broadcast nearly 2 hours ago, but with a few new names in the mix. It is a 5 under round in progress from Jung Yeon-ju, and we will take another quick break and be right back out to Fortune Hills as we start to wrap up more and more rounds this first round of the BC Card Hankyung Ladies Cup. The final approach of the day for Chun-Yi Sung. It is 83 meters. Just to get this to the cut to the right. Well, she's done more than that. We'll have no issues with that. That is a lovely, lovely bit of wedge play. Ran has reached the short par 3 16th. Doesn't quite have the distinction as the shortest hole. That belongs to the fourth, which is 3 meters shorter. Again, Serene. Also avoids the bunker brilliantly. It is 20 centimeters away from holding out for an eagle. She deserves a ton of credit for putting her head back down after the quad. It'd be easy to just completely abandon it. One hole can change everything, but continued to work her way back. The bogey at 16 wouldn't have been what she wanted to see, but she definitely has grinded back. That'll be the third birdie of the round if she taps in. So Jean is still on the 8th, her second to last, within 3. Say at this point we can pretty comfortably say that Yunina and Peng Minji's leads are safe. And Kim Min-ju putting from the fringe. Looks like she's nearly going to have enough to get it all the way there. Was going to be slightly off kilter to the left. She's inside the top 15 for her one-putt success rate. 26% of the time she's got it there. This would be a difficult one. It's 7.3, but not out of the question by any means. Well, why not add another? Sung Ga-eun, that is a fantastic birdie. Her first since the 12th. Well, the divots on 18 have been cleaned up, and now time for a couple of tap-ins. And Serene the first. Fourth birdie of the day. She goes in with a 38 despite the quad. Finishes with a 74 in round 1. Kim Min-ju within 4 through 17 holes of play. back to 16. Kim Soo-ji. Quite a ways away. Sets up her par. To move within 3. No. Pushed it wide. So a 68. She'll be disappointed to have lost her birdie momentum from 10. 7 pars and a bogey along the way to that 68. And Kwon So-yeon, oh, she could typically make those in her sleep. She even chuckles as she looked back at her caddy, thinking, how on earth? It's a disappointing one. She knows she should be at even now. Park Ji-young, does she have another long-range birdie in store for us? Not quite. A bit too much runway and a tap-in par. Well, there's some work to be done, especially if our leaders tomorrow hit the ground running. But a faster start to the day from Yue Ran, and you never know, she still has 3 more potential birdies on the cards. This would be the first of those 3. She'll settle for par in the end as she's pulled that effort to the inside and has a par 4 and a par 5 to wrap up her first round. And a par as well for Kim Soo-ji. So while we await the tee shot, different angle across the course towards the clubhouse, over the fountain as well. We'll also show you the lay of the land at 17. 349 meters is your distance from the tee to the green. The water to your left from the tee shot. It is a long par 4. 200 meters from the tee, in line with the end of that final sand trap before the fairway widens out. Obviously a bit right off the tee is safe with the water, the trees, and then the long bunker to the left of the green. You don't want to be particularly short, especially with the way there's that mound just off the front left. And to be precise with our pin placement, 16 yards off the front, 11 yards from the left, while attacking it in the perfect spot. Can't ask for much more of an approach here on 17 than that. play. Hong Jung-min, who is all pars except for a bogey at 3 and a birdie at 5. Well, we'll need a little bit of special shimmer with the putter to find the birdie. It's a little bit outside of that automatic distance. Surely one or two of these will start to drop 4. And you hit Ren. 91% fairways in regulation today. She has been driving exquisitely, and that's another good one. Well, 65 players are even or better. Only 11 are at 4 under or better. There's still a fair bit of pull off these tee shots for Park Ji-young, though this time she draws into the fairway. Looks like she topped that a little bit, almost like she drove it into the ground and popped up. Comes to the right side of the cup. Will be another hole with another par for Hong Jung-min. Another good drive and nearly another good putt. Broke to the inside and will hover over the edge, so it takes a second putt. And it is 67 strokes down. And even par heading to the last tee. Just enough to avoid the rough. Rolling down from the fringe, and I think that's a smile of escape as much as anything. bit unconventional. She stepped out of that swing, but for Erin, that's a decent approach to open up the potential for another birdie to be picked up. Hankyung follows suit with a similarly accurate approach. This one overcooked slightly relative to the first two approaches, but everyone is on. That is a brilliant way to finish the round for Kwon So-young, considering how long she's been after that last birdie. 17 still remains a strange one, but she does get back to even. It's a 72 in round one. From just off the fringe. That started right and stayed right. End with a stretch of 4 pars and a bogey at 16 after being bogey free through 13. She'll feel like she had left a little bit of something out there. And with one final putt to wrap up her day. So after her impressive birdie at 17, she drops that stroke right back at 18. Sung Jin, tailing slightly to the right, will avoid the rough and land smoothly in the fairway. So Jean and Yunju still remain out on course and in the hunt, but even with where they're at, they'll come up shy. So this is Uninan Pungminji's tournament through 18 holes of play, just a handful of groups still out on course. Well, it's becoming more and more like a postcard as the clouds start to dissipate, the mountains loom large in the background, and the beauty of Fortune Hills really takes center stage. Another pause and back for a few more finishes to these opening rounds on this Friday in Pocheonchi. Returning to 17 with Kim Soo-ji. This will be a left to right and back again kind of putt. Wanted to start it, didn't have enough speed to make that final move back online. approach at 18 carries a little bit more speed than intended for ENG. It is 68 meters from the rough, over the bunker, into that cutout and straight on line. That has all the makings of a birdie. She had to be on line with the speed with which that ball was struck. It is another birdie. And taking a step up the leaderboard once again into a share of 5th at 5 under. Sung Eugene, it is 56 meters. This is a high lofted wedge. Getting underneath it. Surprisingly not getting a ton of spin back towards the cup. Everyone is on in that jut out to the right in behind the sand. And now you head around at 17. Trying to get to 2 under. Pushed to the outside of the cup, and for all the good work she's done with her driver, it's again been some putts that have been her undoing in terms of leaving some strokes out there. Kim Ji-soo on 15. That'll be a nice bounce on. Minimal distance between that approach and the birdie. And Kim Soo-ji for par. She is 2 under through 17 holes of play. Yue Ran will be attempting to tap in and do the same, albeit at 1 under. Par 5 18th awaits. Did well to get up. And does just as well to finalize the birdie. Back to back at 3 and 4, all pars until now. And now 3 under. Well, the stage is set for our featured group arriving at 18. A birdie takes Park Ji-young to 2 strokes back and a share of 3rd. Currently level with a past champion. That's some pretty good company to keep. Jo Jung-min's win coming back in 2019. Well, 16 needing every ounce of the power of that strike, and that is now 4 birdies on the day. There is the double at 12. But otherwise, for Chung Ji-min, too shabby on the way in. Chung Yoon-ji, no. That late break to the right, curling away. So tapping in for a round of 72. 3 birdies on the way in, but a bogey at 1 and a double at 7. And this for a 71. Sun Eugene. Oh, it was hung out to the left the whole way around. She'll take a moment and have the tap in to finish in a tie for 47th. Still 64 members of this 132 player field at even or better. And they ran after the tee shots. Oh, it's straight as an arrow. Well, nearly into the top 30. The opening round of 1 under par. And the first birdie since number 5. It was a long time coming from Jungmin. And it is another par. 8 of the 9 at the back on the Palace course. For those pars, the bogey would come at 13, and it is a 72 in round 1. More approach shots from our featured group. 258 for Kim Soo-ji, also going hybrid. 60 meters per second off the face of that club, apexing at 21 meters and nestling in nicely into the narrow fairway. Well, we've seen the fades with driver for Jeong. Should be hoping the hybrid has a little less action on it. Well, it does have some action, but it's a push into the rough. If you take the putting that she's had today and the driving and wood play from Yue Ren, you'd probably have about a 12 under par score. Well, 11 players are within 4 strokes of the lead. The featured group rounding the corner and finishing off at 18. Oh Ji-hyun, as you just saw, still inside of the top 12. Ironically, she started around with a triple bogey at the first and then would clean it up from there in a big way. With 6 birdies on her way in the final 17 holes of her round. Beautiful shot looking over the mountains towards Gangwon, and we'll step aside momentarily and be back with the 18th and final hole for our featured group. it is closing time on 18 for the group led by Hankyung. Despite finding the rough, this isn't the most complex shots over the sand. Just need to navigate this second cut and pitch it up. That'll be a brilliant roll through the rough inside the shadow of the flag, and it should be one more. And a share of the podium is well within reach. An So-hyun at 14. Still with 5 more holes to go in her round. She's 2 over. And that tee shot sails into the rough to the right side of the pin. The distance was there, the accuracy lacking slightly. Back to 18. Kim Soo-ji, 90 meters from the fairway, lands and sticks in the fringe just before the green, so a chip or a putt down. And to 17, and another contestant at 4 under par, the most recent, and now back-to-back birdies for Chung Se-bin. Well, 1 of 2 thus far, 61 meters for Yoo-hae Ran. And centimeters shy on a string. Again, the everything but the putter today has been top class. I think even with some of the struggles she's found, she could putt this with any club in her bag and still have her birdie. I'll be pretty confident in gambling on 2 birdies guaranteed. You never know. It's not a overly complicated spot from that fringe. It is a pretty smooth transition onto the green. We will await the putts. In the meantime, some of the best snapshots of the day. Trying to beat the heat. He's probably one of, if not the most photographed member on tour. She just at this point assumes the camera's always not that far away. The elation, the ups and downs of the round, and swapping shot. Bang Min-ji has been brilliant. It was a slow start to her year, and she has just picked it up and not looked back. Worth highlighting as well, as we witnessed, the short chipped out, down 1 spot from 17th to 18th in the Rolex rankings. As Kim Soo-ji decides to putt from the fringe, pushes it slightly to the outside. this would set her up for a big round 2. Only 2 others all day long have been able to go to 66. Hankyung, one of them. So Jean, who would finish with a birdie at her last. Jung with a birdie on her 18th hole. 5 birdies on the back 9, 2 on the front, just the 1 bogey on the day. And leading the pack at 66 in the 3-way tie for 3rd at the moment. And after shortchanging it from the fringe, and So Hyun for par. This one just left short as well. So I tap in Bogue, and now 3 in the last 4 holes to take her to 3 over par with 4 to play. Kim Soo-ji, that was a rocket off the face of the putter. Beeline to the inside edge and pops back out. So an unfortunate bogey, just her 2nd of the day. She finishes with a 71 in her opening round. And that clears the green for Yue Ran after a brilliant approach. It is the simplest of birdies and a 70 in round number 1. 4 birdies on the way in. 2 birdies and 4 bogeys through her time on the garden course. A tie for 23rd as she exits 25% of the way through her tournament. Well, we will go through the first round highlights momentarily, but with that birdie, we can see Park Ji-young up into that 3-way tie. Cho Jung-min, 67. She leads the group of those tied at 5 under. Well, it is a group technically, but it is her and it is Chung Yeon-ju at 5 under par, who's still out on course and has time to pick up a birdie and join that tie at 6 under. Well, a handful of groups still out on course. Most recent to make their way through 18. This is Hankyung, who is a little bit more in the locker than what she would have wanted to prescribe. Back to 15, Hankyung. 109 meters as she looks to break this run of bogeys. That's much more like it. Lands at the front and takes most of the speed off of that. We're just about solidified with our top 20. Of those in the final four groups, we have a trio at 3 under, including Cheuno, Hankyung, that was pulled from the get-go. So a 2-putt finish to the round. 74 in round number 1. And the 27-year-old looking for a birdie here. Oh, unfortunate that. So the bogey streak is over. But unfortunately, no birdies to be found for the former Jump Tour and Dream Tour winner. Go through some highlights, some of the best action in round number 1. On our side of the broadcast, we weren't able to see any of the dazzling display from ENG and company back when the skies were not too kind. Started the day with a bird. It's always been the key for ENG. In similar fashion to Yuhei, it is often everything but the putter. But the past month or so, you can include the putter in that list of things that have been working. A brilliant, brilliant birdie putt that was. Speaking of, to 7, Yunina. Just about giving up on it. Stays with it all the way, and check out the amount of birdies on that scorecard. That run of 4. 5 of 6 through 12 of 16 all ended in birdie. Go back to the 4th. ENG, another one. Right to left and down. It's a run of 3 of 4. He was faultless all day long. Going on to have 8 birdies in the day. Speaking of faultless, Yunina didn't miss a single green up to this point. Glances that off the fringe, slows it up. Stands over and cashes in on yet another birdie. 7, 8, and 9. It was another run of completed birdies. And on 9, one more, and another one from quite the ways away. Bang Min-ji had parred this hole, and Ina does one better. Her 9th birdie of the day, just the one bogey coming at the par 4 5th to share the spoils after round number 1. This would be the final birdie for Bang Min-ji's round. At the 8th, off the flagstick and down. Excuse me, that was at 6. Now at 8. This was the approach shot to set up the final birdie. At that point, she had been chasing the lead. 93 meters this approach. Another one that narrowly avoids the sand and uses the fringe to slow it up. And a tap in to finish with a 64. On 18, Hankyung had been at 6 under. Just comes up shy. That would have brought her within 1 stroke of the lead. Bit of a dry spell, 15 through 18, all pars after bogeys at, or birdies, excuse me, at 11, 13, and 14. On to the 9th. Bang Min-ji trying to set up another to finish 1 shot clear. Wasn't her best approach of the day, but she would recover in time for a par at the 9th to get her 64. Well, for my money, when it happened, we saw this early in our coverage. Park Ji-young from just in front of the sprinkler, lofted up and hoped for the best. Well, she got the best. Kicking out and straightening up all the way down for the birdie, which would start off what would go on to be a brilliant back 9. And carrying that momentum to the tee at number 11. Going with 8 iron, only 70% greens in regulation up to this point. You can throw that stat out the window with a result like this one. Fast forward all the way to 17. Her birdie at 15 got her to 4 under. She would par, and then on the way in, 2 more brilliant shots. The mid-length birdie undaunts her. Take her to 5 under. Then this from the rough, 66 meters over the sand, starts it slightly left, and then uses the fringe to reset the line inside the silhouette of the flag, and would step up and make no mistake. Her 66th and final shot of the day. After a relatively quiet front 9. Birdies at 1 and 7. Hankyung, the low-am at 4 under par. Cho Jung-min, the sole owner of a 67 on the day, the winner from 2019. A great start to a championship she knows how to win. Kim Min-ju, Lee So-young, Chun Ye-song, all 68. So Ji-hyun, despite the triple bogey, with her very first hole of the day, she would recover in big fashion with 6 birdies the rest of the way for a round of 69, as did Im Ji-ni, the defending champion. Ko Chi-yu also with a 69. Few 3 under pars still in progress. And as we exit and sign off for the day, 45 players under par, 66 at even par or better. Well, this is where we will say goodbye to round number 1, and to you, the viewers. We appreciate you having joined us for our opening round of 3 here at Fortune Hills. Back on air at the same time tomorrow for Moving Day, 3 p.m. local time here in Pocheonshi. On behalf of our entire SBS Golf crew, I've been Adam Jenkins, signing off from my Toronto, Ontario, Canada studios, and I look forward to welcoming you back tomorrow for round number 2 of this 12th event of the 2022 season on the LPGA Tour of Korea. This is the BC Card Hankyung Ladies Cup. Goodbye for now. See you tomorrow.